as I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the face, 'cause we got space for more.
Come here, all you 6-foot gladiolas. Come on, you purple lilac shining bright. Come, let us all bloom together in one garden, a carnival of fragrance and delight.
Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true, 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space for more. We don't simply tolerate each other. We ask and tell, we don't just turn away. We give attention to every bud and blossom. Let every face come grace and breath decay. Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true, 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space for more.
Demons keep trying to divide us. They document their lies to make them true. Today we're freed from all judging and excluding. Just look around, enjoy this lovely view.
Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true, 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space for more. One more time. Go. Mine is the church where everybody's welcome. I know it's true, 'cause I got through the door. We are a dazzling bouquet of every kind of flower. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space. Jump in the vase, 'cause we got space. Oh.
What a perfect song to open our service this afternoon. Thank you so much, Dangling Participles. We all loved that song so much the last time we heard it. We had to play it again for everyone. So I want to just say welcome, welcome everyone to our Fellowship for Today Spiritual Center Sunday service. We're so happy to have you joining us this afternoon. And as always, it's just nice to see who is with us. And so please say something, say hello, leave a comment. We all appreciate knowing that you're here with us. And so let us begin. Let's just start out with an opening meditation. We can get ourselves in a state of mind for some deep listening. So I invite you to close your eyes and just relax for a moment, and we're going to just let all of the busyness of the day just flow right out of us so that we can be here right now in this moment together. Let's take 2 deep breaths together. Let's breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. Relaxing with each breath. Just follow your breath along. Maybe put your hands on your heart. And let us begin our time together this afternoon in deep, deep gratitude. We open our hearts to accept Spirit's gifts and blessings. Gifts and blessings all around us, everywhere within us, filling us up unbounded and unlimited. We are one with divine presence, love itself, one with the wonders of the universe, connected with the wisdom of God, our source. We open to the miracle of each new moment, meeting each new moment with clarity and wisdom. With a mindset of vibrant and life-affirming clarity and focus, we set into motion the divine creative process in the best interest of all. With hearts filled with gratitude, we flow easily and effortlessly in the stream of divine love. And from this eternal flow of love, let there be forgiveness and healing where it is needed. And let us collectively extend peace and love, kindness and compassion to all beings on this planet. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you. We have a reading for you today and a surprise. So let's all welcome Diana Mitchell from her home.
It's lovely to be here with you. I hope you're doing well. Bob and I are both very well, and we were among the lucky ones to get both of our COVID shots by the middle of February. So now we're going to take our first road trip out of state to visit our son in Kentucky and his family. So hope you are doing well. And today I'm going to read A Blessing for Aging by John O'Donohue, because all of us, no matter where we are in life, are usually making transitions. And this is one that we make very slowly, but we usually do feel it anyway. So John O'Donohue. May the light of your soul mind you. May all of your worry and anxiousness about becoming old be transfigured. May you be given a wisdom with the eye of your soul to see this beautiful time of harvesting. May you make the commitment to harvest your life, to heal what has hurt you, to allow it to come closer to you and become one with you. May you have great dignity. May you have a sense of how free you are. And above all, may you be given the wonderful gift of meeting the eternal light and beauty that is within you. The eternal light and beauty that is within you. May you be blessed, and may you find a wonderful love in yourself for yourself. May you find a wonderful love in yourself for yourself. Thank you.
This song is a prayer to spirit, a prayer to our spirit of oneness, to our spirit of wholeness, to our spirit of unity. The song is called Spirit of Oneness. Spirit of oneness, be here in this place, in this sacred space, flowing among us, showing our true face, showering us with grace. Spirit of oneness, fill every heart and soul, that the world may be made whole, as above so below. Spirit of wholeness, come now in this time, in this hour divine, healing in holiness, revealing one great mind, your light of truth now shine. Spirit of wholeness, come like the peaceful dove, that this world be one in love, so below as above. Spirit of unity, hear now, arise and be all we hear and see. Build our community, make us one body, all in harmony. Spirit of unity, bring the kingdom of heaven, that the world be one again, forever without end. Oh, Spirit of oneness, of wholeness and unity, then your world of love shall be for all eternity. Let it be so.
This is the time in our service when we bless our tithes and offerings. So I ask you, invite you to take a moment and really pause. It's such an important time, and I don't want to just fly through it. It's an important time for us all to pause and be so grateful for all the blessings in our lives and all of the blessings that we share at the fellowship with our wonderful spiritual community, and all of the generosity that all of you share with your fellow fellowshipians. So let us just take a moment, go within, and feel abundance and feel grateful for each other, for everyone's support of the fellowship. And then I invite you to join me as we bless the tithes and offerings. The words will be on your screen. The light of divine love shines eternally, blessing and multiplying these tithes and offerings. I joyously give, knowing I always have enough to share and to spare. Thank you again for all of your generosity. Our speaker today is such a sweet and loving soul. Her smile just lights up my heart. We're so happy to have her with us this afternoon. And she always brings such thoughtful and inspiring insights with her. So let's settle in and welcome with our loving energy Reverend Cheryl Goodman, who's going to be talking about life is in the transitions.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here. On January 20th of this year, as I was watching the inauguration of our new president, I found myself almost unconsciously really exhaling, coming from a deep place within me. And it was as if I was learning to breathe all over again. It was palpable, and I realized that I had been breathing very shallowly for the past several months, if not the past several years. As I started thinking about the last year, I realized how many transitions I had undergone, and the concept of transitions or passages merited a closer look. I remember telling you when I last spoke to the fellowship in May that after 25 years of being estranged from my two younger sisters, I had written one of them a letter telling her that I wanted to be reconnected with her again. And fortunately, she called me. I thought I was prepared for reviving memories and tolerating behaviors that had driven us apart, but what I wasn't prepared for was the medical history of both of my sisters having the breast cancer gene, which they inherited from our paternal grandmother. It came directly through my father. Suddenly, I was enmeshed with hearing about my two aunts having breast cancer in their 70s, and that I needed to get tested quickly because I was at risk of having breast cancer again. You see, I was diagnosed several years ago with breast cancer, although at an early stage of the disease. As I awaited my results of the genetic testing, I found myself making bargains with myself about not having the gene. I thought surely I didn't have it because the universe couldn't be that cruel that I would get it from my father, who was abusive when I was a child. I prayed and rationalized and came to the conclusion that I simply didn't have the gene because I was different from my sister. Resembled our father more than I did. I remember telling people that intuitively I felt I was safe, but when the phone rang from the clinic, my world tumbled around me with the knowledge that I also had the gene. William James, the father of modern psychology, said it best nearly 150 years ago, and his wisdom had been sadly forgotten. Life is in the transitions. We can't ignore these central times of life. We can't wish or will them away. Bruce Feiler, in his book, Life is in the Transitions, Mastering Change at Any Age, says we have to accept them, name them, mark them, share them, and eventually convert them in a new and vital fuel for remaking our life stories. And I knew I was in the middle of a new chapter in my life. As life is going to be full of plot twists, why not spend more time learning to master them? Feiler says that life is not predictable, which is contrary to ideas such as a midlife crisis and the concept of predictable passages that Gail Sheehy wrote in her book, Passages. Life does not unfold in stages, phases, or cycles. Filer says life is nonlinear and getting more so every day. As James Gleick, an early chronicler of the New Science of Chaos, wrote, nonlinearity means that the act of playing the game has a way of changing the rules. Filer likens this to walking through a maze whose walls rearrange themselves with every step you take. Nonlinearity suggests that we should accept upheavals and uncertainties instead of resisting them. And Filer goes on to say that nonlinearity helps explain why we feel so overwhelmed all the time. Trained to accept that our lives will unfold in predictable series of life chapters, we're confused when these chapters become faster and faster and one on top of another. So when I met with a genetic counselor and learned that I had an 85% chance of having another recurrence of breast cancer, and knowing that soon I would be 70, I decided to have a double mastectomy. That would keep me safe, I reasoned. Steve Letter wrote in The Beauty of What Remains that daily life is significantly about staying alive, and I thought, I now have a plan to stay alive with having the surgery. What is the saying that says, when one plans, God laughs? And that is what happened to me. I saw a breast surgeon, and we all agreed to proceed with the surgery, except that the office never called me to schedule. I, of course, called them, and when I didn't hear from them, and they told me we needed to have approval from my insurance. So I waited and waited some more, and like the title of the book from Gabriel Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back, the office, I imagine, lost my referral, but in the interim, we decided to get a second opinion from the University of Michigan, for which they counseled me to take a medication that would dramatically lower my risk of getting breast cancer, and to have regular MRIs and 3D mammograms. So I didn't need to have the mastectomy. I dodged a huge bullet. Bruce Feiler talks about life transitions as disruptors, and the startling thing is that they're more prevalent than anyone expects. So what is it? A disruptor is any event or experience that interrupts the everyday flow of one's life. He uses the term disruptor rather than crisis, problem, or any other label that has been given over the years, because this term is more neutral. Filer believes that we are in a period of unprecedented turmoil in American beliefs. Part of this is faith. He says half of Americans will change religions in the course of their lives. 4 in 10 of us are in an interfaith marriage, and 25% now say they have no religious affiliation. So the question becomes, how many disruptors will each of us face? And the average person goes through one disruption every 12 to 18 months. Since most of us are primed to expect that our lives will follow a predictable path, we're thrown when they don't. Filer says that we have linear expectations, but nonlinear realities. So what happens when life throws us monster curveballs? It's like you enter in one place, go through an elaborate squiggle, and then come out in another. Filer calls these life quakes because the magnitude with which they upend our lives is exponentially worse than everyday disruptions. For me, finding out that I had the BRCA gene was my life quake, since I suddenly was at a huge increased risk of getting breast cancer again and planned on having life-changing surgery as a result of this knowledge. Life quakes involve a fundamental shift in the meaning, purpose, or direction of a person's life. It's like a cataclysm, a divorce, job loss, or death of a loved one. It's a forceful burst of change in one's life that leads to a period of upheaval, transition, and renewal. So how many of these will we face? Filer says that the average is between 3 and 5 in a lifetime, and that 1 out of every 10 disruptors becomes a life quake. So what do these events have in common? Filer identified 2 essential variables: personal versus collective, and voluntary versus involuntary. Personal means something that happens to you individually, such as a career change, a health crisis, losing your home, while collective is an event that happens to you along with many others. The January 6th insurrection at the Capitol was a collective life quake. Filer found that 87% of life quakes were personal and 13% were collective. When I was writing this talk, I received a call from my doctor's office just after having an MRI and was told that they found fluid in my lungs. Suddenly again, and out of the blue, I had to decide whether this was a life disruptor or whether this was a life quake. I decided until I got more information from my doctor that I would focus on this as a disruptor until I had a workup and knew more about what this finding meant. Deciding this helped me to feel more in control about how I would respond to troubling news. Filer continues by saying that the fact that personal, involuntary life quakes are by far the most common is a reminder that the nonlinear life is, at its core, not something most people seek out. We prefer to think that we control the trajectory of our lives. The reality, unfortunately, is far more tenuous. Life quakes are messy, massive, and often miserable. They come at inconvenient times that usually make them more inconvenient. But they do something else. They initiate a period of self-reflection and personal reevaluation. They force us to ask what we don't ask often enough. What kind of person do I want to be? What story do I want to tell? And what gives me meaning? The father of the modern meaning movement is Viktor Frankl, and he was a survivor of concentration camps and wrote the wildly famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. He was liberated in April 1945, but he was a broken man on finding that his family had virtually all been killed, including his wife. He continues in his own words, "On one of those first days back in Vienna, I looked at my friend and told him about the deaths of my family. I remember that I burst into tears and said, 'Paul, I must tell you, when all this happens to someone, to be tested in such a way that it must have some meaning. I have a feeling, and I don't know how else to say it, that something waits for me, that something is expected of me, that I'm destined for something. And after that, I felt relieved. Frankl became the preeminent modern champion of the idea that seeking meaning is the core motivation of humans and the key to our very survival. Frankl came up with a philosophy called logotherapy. Logos for Frankl means meaning. The patient is confronted with and reoriented toward the meaning of his life. So what are the basic principles of logotherapy? Number one, life has meaning under all circumstances, even the most miserable ones. 2, our main motivation for living is our will to find meaning in life. And 3, we have freedom to find meaning in what we do, in what we experience, or at least in the stand we take when faced with a situation of unchangeable suffering. Logotherapy is not concerned with self-actualization. It focuses on self-transcendence, that is, going beyond oneself, a forgetting of the self, rather than being centered on the self. Our culture stresses happiness, understood as pleasurable sensations. We are bewildered when we encounter incurable disease that brings unnecessary suffering. We believe that in suffering there is no dignity, because how can one be happy in suffering? Frankl urges us to find a meaning in our suffering, and all successful sufferers find meaning to some extent. Frankl asked a group of American professors and students who would come to Vienna to do research, what in one sentence was the meaning of his life? Then a student from Berkeley said, "The meaning of your life is to help others find the meaning of theirs." And that was it exactly. Those were the very words he had written. So I remember when I lamented to a friend about the fluid in my lungs, and he said, "So now maybe you will discover the reason behind your chronic cough." And I thought that this too was a meaning moment, if I could change my thinking around to embrace that. I could find a new understanding of meaning in my life this year, a new purpose that would reduce my suffering. And part of this newfound meaning would be in the last words Bruce Feiler writes in this book: tell the stories. Thank you for listening to mine. I invite you to join me in a meditation of a loving kindness meditation. Close your eyes or allow your gaze to drift gently downward. Draw attention to your breathing and allow it to return you to the present moment every time you get distracted. So now, allow an image of yourself as a child to come to mind. Gently move that image into your heart space. Say to yourself, "May I be at ease. May I breathe peacefully. May I find freedom in rest." Allow this image of your child self to gently fade into the background. Now bring to mind the image of someone who has taught you about self-acceptance and compassion, likely a mentor or elder. Gently move this image into your heart center. Say to yourself, may I be at ease, may I breathe peacefully, may I find freedom in rest. Allow this image of this teacher to gently fade into the background. Now bring to mind the image of someone you love and deeply care for. Gently move this image into your heart center. Say to yourself, may I be at ease, may I breathe peacefully, and may I find freedom in rest. Allow the image of this loved one to gently fade into the background. Now bring to mind the image of someone with whom you have difficulty. It may be somebody who has disappointed or hurt you. Gently move this image into your heart center. Say to yourself, may I be at ease, may I breathe peacefully, may I find freedom in rest. Allow the image of this person to gently fade into the background. Now bring to mind your local community or a group you are concerned about, or about people near and far who are suffering. Gently move this group into your heart center. Say to yourself, may I be at ease, may I breathe peacefully, may I find freedom and rest. Allow the image of this group to gently fade into the background. Bring to mind an image of yourself as you now come to mind. Gently move that image into your heart center. Say to yourself, may I be at ease, may I breathe peacefully, may I find freedom in rest. Allow the image of yourself to gently fade into the background. Focus on your breath, moving in and out, inhaling and exhaling. Become aware of your body, sitting in the chair. Gently move now your fingers and hands, toes and feet. When you are ready, open your eyes and focus on the group.
Hello, this is Jeanette Berzan, Valerie Clark, and Leroy Harvey, and we're going to do an original for you. Here's a tale I often tell for those who think they know me well. I am just a passing through. Here is a song that I'll sing for you. But I may be on my way. When I'm gone, don't be afraid. Maybe afraid. I may be on my way. Listen to the words I say. Don't you worry, weep or sway. Stars will light the morning sky. We'll meet again on another day. I may be on, I may be on, may be on my way. When I'm gone, don't be afraid. May be on my way. Yes, I may be on, I may be on, may be on my way. And when I'm gone, don't be afraid. I may be on my way. Thank you.
Thank you to all those who created this really inspiring service this afternoon. Leroy Harvey, Jeanette Berzan, Valerie Clark, the Dangling Participles, and Corey Williams, all of our artists and composers who share their talents with the fellowship. And I also want to say thank you so much to Samantha Dillon. If it weren't for her, these virtual services would not be happening. It's easy for me to come up with ideas, but she's the one who executes them. So let's all say thank you in our hearts to Samantha. And thank you so much, Reverend Cheryl Goodman. What an inspiring message, and something that we can really, really think about during this last year, during the last 4 or 5 years. We do have so many transitions in our lives. One of the things that Reverend Cheryl said that was really powerful to me was this idea of life is not linear. It's like walking through a maze with walls that rearrange themselves with every step. It certainly does seem like that. And what we find and what we know from our fellowship teachings is that all of these disruptors, whether small or large, are invitations to find opportunity in them, and also an invitation for renewal and rebirth. So thank you again, Cheryl, for bringing this amazing message to us. I have just a couple announcements this afternoon. We're still looking for garden volunteers, so if you're interested, it's really easy to let Richard Lassen know or call the office here. Just send an email and we'll get you on the list. I also want to take a moment for all of us to say thank you to our Prayer Connection team, a group of really devoted team members who say prayers on a very regular basis over all of the names that show up on our Prayer Connection list. If you have a prayer request, it's so easy to get that information to us. Again, just call the office, leave a message, send a message to Barb Seiler or myself. And if you're interested in becoming a part of the team, I know the Prayer Connection team would really welcome additional members. So again, let us know, and it would be something really, really meaningful to participate in. And now it's time for our Peace Circle and our closing blessing to complete our service this afternoon. I invite you, after the events of this last couple weeks, to stretch out your arms and Feel your neighbor's hands in yours as we invite all peace seekers in this country, across our vast country, who are willing to join us in our peace circle. And we'll sing our peace song and say our closing blessing. The words will be on the screen. We look so forward to seeing everybody next week for Easter Sunday. We'll see you then.